Welcome to the Press Box. I'm Ryan Thorburn, joined by Steve Mims. We're getting ready for number 24 Oregon versus Virginia. Steve, this isn't exactly the matchup that either side really hoped for. Oregon obviously still near the bottom of the top 25, and Virginia, Bronco Mendenhall's first year, opens up with a loss to Richmond of the FCS. So kind of ACC Pac-12, but not a lot of fizzle there.
Yeah, Oregon goes from playing a
Sizzle,
team.
I should say.
Oregon goes from playing a team in the FCS to a team that lost to an FCS team. So I'm not sure which one's better, but it's actually kind of intriguing for Oregon. It might be the perfect matchup at this time. It's Virginia across the nation. People will look and say, hey, at least they're playing a Power 5 team. Oregon should win in a pretty impressive fashion. Virginia installing with Bronco Mendenhall, you mentioned they're trying to speed up their offense, install a new defense. Neither of those worked very well against Richmond. Can't imagine they work a whole lot better after a long road trip to face the Ducks. So they may get better as it goes along, but I do think nationally, if Oregon can put a 53-10 win up on the bottom line on ESPN, people will at least look and say, hey, that looks pretty impressive without knowing a whole lot about Virginia.
Speaking of no sizzle, I mean, Oregon scored 53 points last week, and it was kind of a ho-hum effort, just given what people think of UC Davis and that they, will likely struggle in the Big Sky Conference. Offensively, I think Oregon will get it going more this week. Dakota Prukop's second game, all those freshmen on the O-line, their second game. I'm sure they're going to get Royce more touches. What are you looking for offensively against Virginia?
Yeah, I was impressed actually with Prukop. I thought he came out and showed that he knows how to run the offense. I know they talked about tempo. Didn't look to the fans' eye at least that much slower. Completed 70% of his passes, showed that ability to run, which we haven't really seen since Marcus. Everybody talked about how Vernon didn't really want to run. Looks like Dakota certainly wants to. I don't know if you want him running that many times, particularly against a UC Davis team where a fluke injury could knock him out. But I'll be interested to just see kind of him build on that progression, speed it up a little bit, and see if maybe the week when maybe Devin Allen gets a little bit more involved.
Yeah, maybe more Devin Allen, a little more Pharaoh Brown with an injury to Johnny Munt. Maybe Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I was going to say that was sort of the thing everybody talked about last week. Everybody talked about, well, is it going to be mid-third quarter, early fourth quarter by the time Herbert gets in? So maybe that's where the disappointment from fans came, was they thought that the game would be decided well enough for them to be able to see the local kid, but it didn't happen until the final 17 seconds. So I'm sure Oregon would like to maybe sit Dakota down by about the start of the fourth quarter this week to give him some little more time.
I was talking with Austin Meek on our podcast about the defense, and we were kind of nitpicking. Well, they gave up 28 points, a couple big plays here and there, a couple communication errors with the safety, maybe not lining up deep enough. But at the end of the day, as Brady Hoke was happy with it, who am I to complain? I mean, it's week one of a total revamp on defense, and I think they're going to have a big night on Saturday just because Virginia struggles to run the ball, it looks like. What have you seen from Brady Hoke so far?
Yeah, I think defensively it's, I don't think anybody can expect huge strides. We're still looking at a team that's got basically only the secondary back from last year. You've lost your best defensive player. I think Brady wants to see a little bit more strides, like you mentioned in week 2. 28, well, probably more than you want to give it to UC Davis, but last year you gave up 41 to the FCS team, a little better one in Eastern Washington. But so we'll see this week. I think Virginia, like you mentioned, not a real potent offense. First-year quarterback starting as a transfer from East Carolina. I think if you're Hoke, you'd like to be able to keep them down closer to, you gave up 7 points in the first half to UC Davis and then 21 in the second half. Keep it a little more like 7-7 and try to get out of there without giving up more than a couple scores.
I think one of the more positive stories from week one is a star is born in Troy Dye. I mean, this kid looks like a potential All-American linebacker with his size, his speed. He blocked a field goal in addition to making all those tackles. You got to be excited if you're an Oregon fan that this guy's in the heart of your defense as a true freshman.
Yeah, and you don't see that a whole lot at that position, but I tell you, when he walked into the interview room afterwards, he also didn't look like a true freshman. I mean, he's built even, just facially. He walks in there and looks like, if you told me he was a 21-year-old junior or something, I would believe that. So it's not really a fluky deal. I don't think it's a guy who just kind of happened to take advantage of a lesser offense. Dye, everybody's talking about how they saw it in the preseason, carries over to the first game, and now there's some expectations for him going into Virginia.
Before we go, you were on the conference call with Bronco Mendenhall. You had great success at BYU, only one game at Virginia. It looks like it's going to take a while. What do you expect out of Virginia, if anything, other than they're going to play hard?
Yeah, I think offensively they want to try to go at a little bit of a faster pace than they have, but at the same time they know they don't quite have the personnel to do it yet. Broncos said, hey, we'd like to go fast, but it's more important for us to get the right guys out there. Defensively, they're starting a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. I think Mendenhall's kind of come in and decided, that the guys who were playing last year on defense, he wanted to kind of go young to give him kind of a second and third year to where you're going to developing some guys. So I would think that Oregon shouldn't have a huge problem putting up some points against the defense. Question is if Oregon can just kind of slow down Virginia, keep them at bay, and build the lead up high enough to where, like you say, they can kind of empty the bench a little earlier.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Thanks for tuning in.